welcome to the Facebook Ads Masterclass. We are just going to be here for a short while. We're going to do some questions at the end. So if you've got any questions as we're going through, then just pop them in the comments. We're going to be talking today about Facebook ads and how you can make the most of your budget, some of the things that you should do and shouldn't do so you can save money in the future. Let us know in the comments if you are already using Facebook ads or if you've used them in the past, just so we can see the sort of thing that you are doing. So, quick introduction. As we said, we are the Lauras. Both of us called Laura. We share an email address, so it's very easy to have the same name, but it does confuse some people. But you can call me Laura1. That's fine. We are the founders of the Hub for Social Media Managers. We are certified Facebook ad strategists. We manage Facebook ads for clients, and we also teach people how to use Facebook ads. So we've taught well over 300 businesses how to advertise on Facebook and Instagram, and we're just going to delve into a little bit of that today. If you want to come and find us afterwards, you can find us. We mainly hang out on Instagram these days, and you can just look for us either _Laura Davis or _Laura Moore, and just come and say hi and ask us any questions. So, if you can hear the banging in the background, by the way, that is my husband, so I apologise for that. He was under strict instructions to be quiet. Clearly, he has ignored that instruction. So, before we get into it, why should you use Facebook ads? And if you are already using them, you probably already know the pros and cons. But if you've never delved into them, we're just going to give you a couple of statistics that might blow your mind a little bit. First of all, 71% of adults in the UK can be reached with Facebook ads, which is a massive proportion of people. So it's like nearly 3/4 of the UK adult population can be reached with an ad that you just show on an app, which is pretty amazing, really. So if you're trying to target people in the UK, Facebook ads are a really good way to do that. And people haven't become immune to ads yet on social media. Like when we're watching TV, we might put the TV on mute if the ads come on and go and make a cup of tea. It doesn't work quite the same on Facebook. Women still click on an average of 10 ads a month. For men, it's around 8. It's probably slightly lower because they probably spend a little bit less time on Facebook than what we do. So people are still very much clicking on ads rather than scrolling by, obviously, if those ads are catching their attention. So they definitely still work. But people scroll on average 300 feet a day on their mobile. So you do need to put the work in to make sure that your ads work. And a little bit later, Laura will be talking about how you can make your ads appeal to people so that they stop scrolling. And you can catch them in that 300 feet scroll so they can take action on your ads. A lot of people, when they are talking about Facebook ads, are actually talking about boosting a post. That's not what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about using Ads Manager to create ads, and that is the best place to be making Facebook and Instagram ads, because you will get much more bang for your buck if you create ads in Ads Manager. You'll see much better data, you can create better audiences, you can do retargeting. There's loads of different things that you could do in Ads Manager that you can't do when you're just boosting a post. So if you're serious about getting your products and services in front of people, and you want to spend money on marketing, you definitely need to think about using Ads Manager rather than just boosting a random post here and there and hoping for the best. And a quick news flash that some of you may not realise is that Facebook and Instagram ads are actually the same thing. So whereas you can boost a post on Facebook and you can promote a post on Instagram, if you use Ads Manager, you can actually use your budget to show ads on Facebook and Instagram without spending any more money. And you can also show them in Messenger, in the Audience Network, and tons of other places. So whilst we're referring to them as Facebook ads, they're actually Facebook and Instagram ads, which obviously confuses some people. But just to let you know that if you know how to use Facebook ads, then you already know how to use Instagram ads, because the two things are very much the same. So before you spend any money on Facebook ads, there are a few things that you need to do in order to make sure that you will get the best results from your ads. And these are things that you want to do before you even head into Ads Manager and start building out your ads. The first thing is that you need to make sure that your website works really well. It needs to be mobile optimized, because most people who are clicking through from a Facebook ad over to your website will be on mobile. It needs to load really quickly, and it needs to be doing the job organically, because if it's not already working organically, putting some money on a Facebook ad isn't going to make it work. So you need to make sure that you're getting results from it already. Make sure it's mobile optimized, make sure it loads really, really quickly, because people are really time poor when they're on social media. You know what it's like, we're scrolling through, we might see an ad, we might go and click on it, but below that ad, or maybe above that ad, we saw a post from a friend that is distracting us, or perhaps our kids are yelling at us because they want a snack, and we're really time poor. So if we click on an ad and it doesn't load really quickly, we're not going to wait for that to happen. So your website is really key in making sure that your Facebook ads work. And part of that is having a Facebook pixel on it. And I'll explain what the Facebook pixel is in a second, but you need to make sure that you've got the pixel on your website so that it will track people, so you can then do the next stage of this triangle, if you like. So the third thing you need to do before you start spending money is make sure that you've got systems set up so you can follow up with people and you can retarget them. So if you are doing lead generation, those systems might be that you have got an email nurture sequence in place. It might be, if you're using Messenger, that there's somebody there ready to respond to people really quickly. It might be, if you are an e-com business, that you are following up with retargeting ads if people add something to their cart but they don't end up going through with the purchase. So you want to make sure you've got all those systems in place before you spend any money, because Facebook ads work really quickly, and if you are getting people onto your website, they're being tracked by the Facebook pixel, but they're not actually buying. You want to make sure that you can then get them to come back to you somehow and nurture those people. So the Facebook pixel is key, as I've just said, and you want to make sure you've got this set up on your website. And if you don't already have this, your key takeaway from today should be to go and get this on your website straight away. Now, the Facebook pixel is a small piece of code that is unique to your own ad account. Everyone who has an ad account has their own unique pixel code. And what it does is it sits on your website and it tracks everyone who lands on your website if they're logged into Facebook in the background. So maybe they've got the app open, or maybe they're on desktop and they've got it open in another window. And these days, most people don't ever bother to close their apps and they never log out of Facebook. So as long as they're logged in, then they will be tracked when they land on your website. So that means that if you are spending money on Facebook ads, you can track your campaigns, because you can see who's clicked on that ad and then landed on your website, and it will track them so you can see that that's happened. It will also track data from anyone else who's landed on the website, which means that you will then be able to retarget them. So you can retarget your warmest leads using different types of audiences. And then when you've done that and you've got all of that data, you can use that data from your pixel to find more of your ideal clients. So the pixel is really important, and if you don't already have one, make sure you get that done ASAP. Little word of warning with your pixel, just remember that you have your own unique pixel ID, which is associated with your ad account. So if you're asking a web developer to put the pixel on your website and they say they've done it, but they've never asked for your pixel ID, it's likely that they've put the wrong ID on there. So make sure that they know which ID it is that you need. And so once you've got those things all set up, there are 4 key things that you need to think about to make sure that your ad works. You need to make sure your targeting is right. You need to make sure you're using a scroll stopping image, that your headline and your copy is really, really good, and that you've got the right budget. Okay, so those are the things we're going to cover now. But if you've got any questions as we're going through, obviously let us know in the comments and we can then come back to them. I can see there's a question there from Ryan about how to set up the Facebook pixel properly. That's quite an in-depth question. You just need somebody who knows how to put code on your website. So yeah. So the next thing to think about then is the targeting. And this is the thing that people tend to get confused with. So when you're creating Facebook ads, there are 3 different types of audiences that you can use. And most people will already know that you can create an interest-based audience. So you can decide on how old the people are, maybe where they live. Maybe you could think about some interests. So for instance, if you were maybe a wedding venue, you might be targeting women who've just got engaged, who live in your local area, who are interested in weddings. So that's your basic interest-based audience that most people know how to build. That is a cold audience, okay? That's an audience of people who don't know you, they've never had any interaction with your business, and you're just going out cold to them. The next type of audience is a lookalike audience, and this is built using data points to help people find, so Facebook can help you find people who are similar to people who've already interacted with you. So again, that's another cold audience. But lookalike audiences can work really well. And what you do is you actually build a lookalike audience from a custom audience, which is your third type of audience. So a custom audience is your only warm audience on Facebook, okay? And a warm audience is somebody who's already engaged with you or your business. It might be that they are on your email list, they may have engaged with you on Facebook or Instagram, they may have been on your website, they may have bought from you. Any way that they've interacted with you digitally means that they're a warm audience, and you can then build a custom audience of them. And you can then retarget those people. If they've been to your website, they might fall into a custom audience, but you can also use a custom audience to create a lookalike audience. So if you've got a custom audience of people who've bought from you before, you might want to build a lookalike audience of those people, so you can find more people who are very similar to those people who might be likely to buy from you. So they're the three different types of audiences, but you've only got one warm audience there, and it's likely that your warmest audience will be the smallest audience you've got. So Joanna's just said, is it possible to target by job title? Yes, some job titles. It depends what it is. You'd have to look. But yeah, you can look in Ads Manager and see whether or not that particular job title that you're after is available. So those are the three audiences that you need to think about. And it's really important that you think about those three audiences when you're building out your ads, and think about who specifically you're targeting. Because no matter what you do, if you've created the best ad in the world and followed all of the instructions that Laura's going to talk about in a second, if you've got your targeting wrong and you're showing that amazing ad to the wrong people, it will not work. So your targeting is really key, and you need to think really, really in depth about who you want to target and how best you can do that. So make sure that you know who your audience is, you know maybe their demographics, the things that they're interested in, but you also know the people maybe that they follow on Instagram, on Facebook, the websites that they visit, and all of those sorts of things, so you can get a really in-depth analysis of them. And then think about what custom audiences you've got, so you can create lookalikes of those as well.
So as Laura mentioned right at the start, we scroll 300 feet a day on our social media, which is quite phenomenal, really, quite worrying, I suppose, in the same vein, which we as consumers of social media are shown a phenomenal amount of content. So when you're trying to market your business, you need to find ways in which you can grab the attention of those social media users. So just to give you an example of an ad of one of mine, and you can see here that by the number one that we are initially going to have our attention drawn by the image. In this case, it was a video. That is where what our brain will register first. So there's a lot of people who will spend a lot of time on our copy, and then they'll let the side down when it comes to the image. The image is what is going to stop someone from scrolling, and that is your the hardest part, really, is to grab someone's attention. So it's really important that you think of ways in which you can use the imagery or videos to grab someone's attention. And then interestingly, our eye then goes down to the headline, to the bottom of the ad area, not up to the copy. So again, making sure that you use the headline to pull out the main kind of USP, maybe the main problem that your customer might have that you're hoping to resolve. You might have an offer, you might have free postage, you might have a 10% off, whatever those kind of key things are. And it will come down to testing to find out which one works. But that is where you're going to put that golden nugget of information. And also trying to get as much social proof on an ad will help. Not only will it give credibility to your product or your service, but it will also create that little bit of FOMO. it will make people think, well, look, how come so many people have liked, comment and share on this one? What am I missing out on? I want a bit of that cheesecake too. So definitely think about how you can gauge some social proof on your ads as well. And then finally, but definitely not least important, they're all as important as one another, is your copy. And you want your copy to be as clear and concise as possible. And you want to give people a reason, unless you can get it in the top 2 lines, which is all that people are shown on an ad. Unless you can be really succinct, you need to give people a reason to click on that see more to read the rest of your copy. So it's really important to think about that opening sentence or 2. So then once you've kind of thought about how that process works, we want to look at what actually are you going to use in your creative to make people's attention kind of be drawn to your ads. So there are various different things to try. One which is really popular is what is called images that will disrupt the feed. It's really important that you try not to make your ad look too much like an ad. People don't like to be sold to, so trying to make your creative fit but disrupt is one of the hardest challenges. And these are just a couple of examples of how the ads don't look overly ad-like, but they disrupt the feed. So for example, the pastry, the biscuits, whatever they are, they could be my friend. So it could be that my friend has done that. That might stop me from scrolling, because I might be thinking, right, who's baking these? So it doesn't have to be this overly polished professional shot. Sometimes making it look like it could be somebody who's posted that picture can actually be half the battle. So then moving on to your still images, if you can provide or use images that allude to some kind of movement, as in these examples here, weirdly, the research shows that these ads work better than just a still image. So in this instance, if you were just to have a pair of leggings on a model, for example, as in a still what they call mannequin, they in theory wouldn't work as well as this image of someone actually wearing the leggings and doing some movement with it. So have a think about that. It can obviously be difficult to, depending on your product and service, to include that in your creative, but just bear that in mind when you do your or looking for your images. So when it comes to your copy in particular, it's really worth bearing in mind that as much as we are really proud of what it is that we've achieved or we're selling, it's not actually about you. People don't really want to know what you are offering. They want to know what the thing is that you're offering, how it helps them. What problems does your product or service sell? Whether it be a candle that's going to make your house smell nice because you've got pets, that's what you've got to talk about, because that's, as much as you may have won awards for your candle, or you are really proud of how it's ethically sourced, although they're good USPs and they're not to be discounted, the most important thing in terms of a copy on some ad creative is that you talk about the pain points in which your product or service resolves. So it's really important to just bear that in mind. As a local business, when you have ads that are for a specific geographical area, it's really, really important to put that location in your copy or your headline somewhere. If it's not for that, if it's a florist that covers the whole of the country, it won't resonate with the person as much as if that florist was to say this is for people, in this case, living in Stratford upon Avon. So try to talk to the local people specifically. And if you're using images, or if you can use images, maybe you've got premises or you want to speak to that local audience, try to use an image that people can relate to. And this example here of the overhead view of a retail park is not what we are referring to. What we want to see is an image that people might have seen. I have never flown over the top of a retail park, so I don't know. That could be any retail park in the country. So you want to use images that people can relate to, can identify, because then they know that that ad is speaking to them. And finally, when it comes to, or second to finally, when it comes to your copy, you want to speak to your laziest reader. As you'll probably find, as people who use social media, and this is totally goes with organic social media as well, in that you can say to people, here is my product, here is the link for you to find out more, and they will rarely click on the link to go and find out what time you're open or how much that product is. So try to provide as much information but as succinctly as you can in your ad, because people often won't go and find that information out for themselves. It can be really infuriating. I'm sure you can probably relate to that. When people won't go and find the information that is there for them. It's all on the website. And so just try to make sure that you're giving them all the information that they need to be able to go and complete that purchase or complete that process in which you're asking them to do. You'll also want to talk to everyone. You want to talk to everybody that you are targeting. So back to that candle for the pet owner. If you were to just promote your candle to anybody and say, this is my candle, it's great, it costs $9.99, you can buy it here, then you're talking to everybody. It doesn't resonate with anybody, it doesn't mean anything. Whereas if you were to straight away have a picture of a candle and maybe a dog, not quite sure on the combination, but talk in the copy very specifically about it being for pet owners, you are speaking directly to your audience. Okay, so it's really key to follow that niche that product is for, which you might think initially, oh, well, I want to speak to everybody because that's more people who might see my ad and therefore more people might buy it. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram advertising, it's really, really clear to speak to exactly who you want to buy that product, because the product solves the problem for that group of people. So moving on to budget, and this is a question we get asked a lot. The biggest thing you need to bear in mind is how you need to be realistic. You could put £1 a day behind a Facebook ad, and there's nothing stopping you doing that. But realistically, do you think you'll be able to sell your product on £1 a day? Weirdly, the more money you spend on Facebook ads, the easier it is. It's easier to test. It's easier to find what audiences and what creative is going to get you the best results for the littlest amount of money. So it's really important to try to be as realistic as you can. Ideally, we say that you want to be looking to spend about £10 a day, if not more. If you've only got £50 to spend, you are better, in theory, running an ad at £10 a day for 5 days than you would be to run an ad for £5 a day for 10 days. Because when you're spending £10 a day, you're giving Facebook enough money to go and find the people to do what it's got to do. And anything less than that can make it quite a challenge for Facebook. So you're never going to see your true results, and you're never going to see your best results. And it's also worth bearing in mind that if you have a high ticket item, so for example, if you were selling a £500 table, it's unlikely that you would be able to sell that £500 table for £10 a day. So therefore, if you are only spending £10 a day, you are unlikely to get one sale a day, if that makes sense. So you want to be realistic as well to that consideration period. So people will maybe see your ad, they'll go away and they'll have a look on your website. they'll go and maybe measure up. They might have to go and speak to their wife or husband about whether they can fit it in, afford it, what have you. So the consideration period of a higher ticket item is quite big. So you'll want to be able to include some retargeting and show an ad to people who have looked at the product on your website, and obviously that will include you or need you to spend more money. So try to be as realistic as possible, but as a minimum you want to be looking at £10 a day. And on that note, patience is absolutely key when it comes to Facebook. It's one of the hardest things about doing what we do is that we often just have to sit on our hands and wait to see what happens. When you first turn on a Facebook ads campaign, it can be between 4 to 7 days till you can actually see what results you're going to get. Because Facebook have got to go and find these people that you've targeted, and they've got to start to test to see which of your creative and your audiences are working better. So it's as much as you might after 24, 48 hours think, oh, I'm going to turn it off, they're not working. And then in a few days later you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to give it another go. And you put them on for a couple more days and then turn them off again. You are so much better to just try and hold your nerve and sit on your hands and see what happens and start to see what results you can get. Now, I know, we don't all have money to chuck at Facebook and far from it. But it's sometimes people will say, well, look, I'm going to give my local paper £500 and I'm going to see what happens. And it's kind of the same, but a lot cheaper, and you've got a lot more control over that. You need to be able to chuck a bit of money at it and just see what happens and see what gets delivered and see what uptake you get from it and learn from that. So finally, that will come on to our testing. When it comes to spending your money, you want to find out. So if you had the same analogy of putting money in advertising in a newspaper, you might have in your local town 2 or 3 newspapers. So you might put money or an advert in each of those newspapers. You're testing, you're going to see which of those newspapers, assuming you ask people when they pick up the phone where they heard about you, you're testing which of those newspapers is giving you the results on your money. Now, it's exactly the same when it comes to Facebook ads, apart from you have so much more control over it. So you can test lots of different audiences, and those in which Laura's already mentioned. You can test to see whether an interest-based audience works better than a lookalike audience. You can test to see whether a video works better. And what I mean by works better is makes you the result, or gives you the result that you're looking for. So, for example, a purchase for the lowest cost. So you can see one audience might get you a sale, but it's cost you £5 to sell that candle. But another audience, another creative, you may have got a sale and it's only cost you £1. So you know that is your better performing ad or audience. So you can kind of turn off the other one and start kind of optimizing and working on those winning results to get hopefully even better results. So testing, without doubt, is key to Facebook. And Facebook ads, you never ever stop testing. We are always testing new creatives, new headlines, new copy, new audiences. And it's part of the joy of it for us, but obviously sometimes it can be the frustration for some people. But it is without a doubt key. You cannot just start an ad campaign, press go and walk away. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that if you want to get the best return for your money. Okay, and then finally, we've popped, there's always a lot of lingo and jargon talk when it comes to Facebook ads, and we appreciate that sometimes can be the hardest part of deciphering what we're talking about. So if any of these terms are that we've used today, like customer audiences, lookalikes, for example, are going to go in one ear and out the other, you're very much welcome to head to this link and to download the Jargon Buster. It's obviously completely free, and you can just keep in your drawer on your desk for when you don't understand what something means. And that's it. So we're good for questions.
Yeah, has anyone got any questions? I'm just trying to scroll through. David, what about at the other end of the scale with low ticket items? I don't really know what that's in reference to.
So on a low, I think it was in reference to where I was saying about consideration period, a consideration period on a high ticket item. Yeah, on a low ticket item, so what we would class as low ticket is under 50 quid ish. If I had a low ticket item, in theory, people could see that product and go and buy it straight away. But I still think it's important to have retargeting, because despite the fact there might be a £40 jumper that I've seen on a Facebook ad and I want to go and buy, and in theory would just go and buy it, the kids will distract me, the kettle will boil, my phone will ring, I'll get a notification somewhere and I'll be distracted. And that's not to say that I didn't want to buy that, I just got distracted. So retargeting campaigns are always useful, regardless of how much the price point is, if that helps. So it's not always just about consideration period, it's also about that user journey, really, and you'll know yourself how easy it is to be, to get distracted. Well, or maybe that's just me. And it's really frustrating
as well if you get distracted. If you've seen something you want to buy and you get distracted and you can't find that ad again and they don't retarget you, it's so frustrating. It has to be all the time. Melanie, with Facebook Ads Manager, do you need to set up one per Facebook page, or does one account manage many? That depends how similar the businesses are. If they're very different businesses with very different audiences, you'd be better off to have different ad accounts for each of those, and different pixels. But if they're very similar, then you probably could use one. Fiona, is it better to run campaigns through Facebook Business Manager or just from the business page on Facebook? I'll let you explain Business Manager.
So Facebook Business Manager, in theory, you can't run ads from. Business Manager is a house, in theory, that holds all your Facebook assets. So within Facebook Business Manager, you have Ads Manager, you have your Facebook page, you have your pixel, you have your catalogue if you're e-com. You have all these things that are housed and kind of kept and linked together via Facebook Business Manager. But without doubt, the best place to run Facebook ads is Ads Manager, which you can find within Business Manager if you have Business Manager, because you don't need Business Manager. It's very complicated. But yeah, you want to use Ads Manager, which is obviously linked to your business page.
Yeah, rather than boosting a post. Hopefully that helps with that one. Anyone else got any other questions? See if any other come in. The link for the Jargon Buster is jointhehub.co.uk/Cambridge. It is in the comments. Yeah, if you want to go and download that, then do feel free. And if you want to ask us any more questions, then obviously you can either go via the website or come and find us on Instagram. Ryan has just said, would you have an idea about the percentage of ads that are placed on Facebook Messenger? I include that on my ads.
Do you mean the proportion of your ads? What proportion of your ads are shown on Facebook Messenger? The way Facebook works is that you basically say to Facebook, when you've built your campaign and you turn it on, you're saying, right, I want you to do this, i.e. create a purchase conversion. I want you to send your ads to this, and I want you to show these ads to the people that I've chosen, and you can choose the platforms in which you send those ads to. So you can choose, if you want to, it would be probably pretty bad advice, but you could choose, for example, to only send your ads to Instagram. But generally speaking, we would advise putting your ads out to all the different placements that Facebook covers, which are lengthy, and let Facebook find your people. Facebook's kind of AI is without doubt phenomenal in terms of finding your people. Everybody's people will be in different places.
And also they react to ads differently in different places, won't they? Like, I never ever click an ad on Instagram, but I'm a proper ad clicker on Facebook.
Yeah, and I would never ever click on an ad in Messenger. and I would click on an ad on Facebook and Instagram and Instagram stories. So your ads and how your ads are shown is determined by the kind of intelligence that Facebook has, and you can have a look at that. You can go into Ads Manager and you can click on the breakdown, and you can see where your ads are being served to, which placements are getting you the best results, and you can obviously learn from that over a period of time. But there's no percentage in which the ads are shown as standard. It will be very different for everybody, for every single campaign, for every single business, and for every single creative. So there's no kind of easy answer for that one.
David has just asked, what are all the things under Business Manager? Like, we could be here all day, but just a quick summary. Your business page, the people who can access that page, and your ad account, the people who can access that ad account, catalogue, pixel, Instagram page.
Instagram can be linked to it. Your offline events.
Offline events. There's tons.
Like everything sits under
it
Business
can all
Manager.
It's
really
like a chain.
It's just the house that looks after, keeps everything together. The family of assets together.
Fiona says, a client has a business account. Can I add their page to my own Business Manager account, or can one company page only be attached to one account? Yes, you can request access from your Business Manager account to their assets, but you want to request access. You don't want to add them and claim them. And that is something that often confuses people. Shaz, what is the simplest way to explain to clients the difference between boosting and an ad campaign? The simplest way, I would just say that boosting a post, you don't get any testing when you're boosting posts. That it's not really a marketing strategy. Using Ads Manager, you can test different audiences, you can test different creatives, different copy, so you can see what's working. Whereas if you're just boosting a post, it's just that one post that you're just putting money on to see what happens. So it's not really.
Yeah, it's a boosted post. I have always described it to clients as a spray and pray. You just chuck in 20 quid behind it and hoping for the best. Whereas building a proper campaign in Ads Manager, you have, you don't have complete control over it, because obviously Facebook will have some element of that, but you have as much control as you can by building it in Ads Manager, because there's so much more options available to you to manage that campaign more effectively. So they'll get more money back, hopefully, if they use Ads Manager rather than boosting. It's kind of it's not a waste of money to boost, and there's nothing wrong with boosting, but it's certainly, as Laura says, it's not a marketing strategy really, and it's not an effective way to get any kind of concrete good return.
And boosted posts are really Facebook's way of making money from people who don't know how to do ads. So they've created a way that just Joe Blogs can just press boost and spend some money on Facebook. So you're never going to get the best results there. It's just gone too fast and now I can't see the last comment. Can you tell us more about understanding the ads metrics? How do we know our ads are performing well from the insights? That really depends on lots of things. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve from your ads. So you would look at different statistics if you were running maybe an engagement campaign than you would if you were trying to get purchases. So it would always be different. There are some soft stats that you would look at, like click-through rate and costs and things like that. But it really would depend on what you're trying to achieve and with the sort of ad campaigns that you're running.
It's hard to be very specific, but I think what's most important really, and that's why testing is key. So if you had two ads running, ad creatives, and one was getting you a cost per click of 50p and the next one is getting you a cost per click over 20p, that gives you your starting point for your business to know what your kind of benchmarks are. So when you next do a campaign or you add in more creative to that campaign, you can start to see, okay, well, this one's now getting 17p, whereas that one's getting 68p. So you might want to turn the 60, I don't know where I'm getting these numbers from. You could turn the 68p off and focus on those cheaper ones. So over a period of time, you and your business will get to understand what metrics work for you, because you never have two businesses who will get the same results for the same amount of money. It just doesn't work like that, because there are so many factors that go into how effective your ads are. If you're really, really good at organic social media, you will probably see better results from Facebook ads, because Facebook wants you to be doing well at everything. If you don't post on social media, you may see that your ad results are much more expensive. So there aren't any hardcore stats. The best way to find out what metrics work for you is to test lots of different campaigns and creatives and audiences to find what the cheapest options are for you in your business.
Ryan's got a question here. He says, I had an issue with the copy and image on some of my previous ads. I noticed that you're unable to modify the image when it's an ad unless you stop the ad itself. Is there a workaround on this, or is it Facebook's restriction?
So if you had an ad running, and you should be able to just go in and edit it to change your copy. The best thing you would always want to do, really.
Sorry, I was just saying, if it's a boosted post, then you won't be able to do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. If it's a post that's on your page that you've put money behind it, you can't edit it without stopping. If it's an ad in your ad manager, you can duplicate it and make amends and make a new creative and run with it. So it depends which of those ones it is.
When you do that, just be aware that any changes you make, if you've got any social proof on those posts, if you make any changes, first of all, you're likely to lose all of that. And secondly, you'll then put your ads back into the learning phase. So Facebook will then start learning all of that data again. So it's always advisable not to make too many changes if you can. And if you do need to make changes, you're best off to duplicate it and make changes to the new one so you can see the difference in the stats. I think that is it for the questions. Oh yeah, so it was a post that was boosted. Yeah, so you can't edit it once it's being run as an ad. Cool.
It's mainly because the reason they do that is because Facebook as you know, when you put money behind anything, whether it's a boosted post or whether it's an ad, it will go through a review process with Facebook. So Facebook needs to check that they are happy with that ad before they approve it. If you then make an edit, Facebook won't know that therefore that is running on the ad, so you could have all sorts going on. So it is quite difficult to edit from a page post for that reason, to protect the user.
Excellent. Okay, well, I hope you all got something out of that. I hope that all was really helpful to you. Like we said, if you need to ask us any more questions, then feel free to do so. You can come and find us on Instagram or find us via the website, and you've got the link in the comments. And yeah, good luck with running your ads. I hope you've enjoyed it.